Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia. It's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
All systems go.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, his journey into Bigfoot research began at the age of 13, when he had a life-changing encounter with a massive hairy creature in the woods of his family farm. Ever since then, our guest has spent years conducting and investigating in the woods. Now you will hear him speak about his many expeditions and countless adventures with America's most elusive creature, Sasquatch. All this plus more. Please welcome new friend and first-time guest, Ron Howe. He is Biker Bigfoot. Ron, my friend, welcome to Let's Find Out.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, shoot, man. I've been trying to get you for a little while, and it seems that sometimes our travels don't quite match up. And in fact, I think the first time I kind of had a conversation with you was in, I want to say about 2 years, maybe 3 years ago. I was in, and I never pronounce this town's names right, and people always correct me. It's either Weyers or Weyers Cave, Virginia.
Yeah, Bears Cave.
And I think that was your first time emceeing.
Yes.
And then the year after that, I ran to your table, and in fact, I would turn the camera, but my luck will fall. I did buy one of your piece of artworks where it says "Believe in Yourself" with the American flag and the Bigfoot on top. So that's right there in my studio. It's been there for a couple of years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
those kind of ended up in a lot of people's homes. That was one of my first artworks that I made back whenever I was still working with the Legion. It's been a very interesting and wonderful journey, just coming out into the public and doing what I'm doing. And so, just to give it a little bit more elaboration on what I'm doing is I spent, as you've already explained, I started at 13 with my first sighting, and just it led me into so much research trying to find out what I came across. I mean, you imagine, I'm 51 years old now, 13, that was a while back. There wasn't as much public notoriety towards this creature, so I had no idea what I was looking for information, who to turn to. There was just family, friends, whatever I would discuss it with, and as a lot of people know, being in this world of the cryptids, there's a lot of criticization. So I went through a lot of that growing up, but I just stuck to my guns and just kept moving forward, trying to find out the information. And it led me into probably over 30 years worth of research privately. And just 5 years ago, I decided to buy a costume, and I dressed up in it and jumped on my Harley. And what happened with that, I went to a local show 10 minutes from my home where I live now. And I was like trying to figure out, like, how am I going to do this without messing up my costume? I figured the thing's going to get burnt on my exhaust. So I threw the chaps on. I threw my vest on. I threw the helmet on, the goggles, and I was just like, it was making it easier for me to ride and keep the costume from getting damaged. And hey, basically right there, Biker Bigfoot was born. And I went to this show, met a bunch of people, became friends with a few people. Dan was one of them, Daniel Benoit, Les O'Dale, and the whole crew for the Fayette County Bigfoot Researchers Organization. It was their event. So from there, I just kept going to these shows. These are the people that I have found that had been doing this for a while in the public as a group. And I just kept talking to them, and I kept going, showing up. And it just turned out to be just this wonderful thing to be in this costume and go to these shows because of the reaction that people would give. That really, really struck me, the reaction. I never expected it. Now, mind you, growing up as a kid, I was shy. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I didn't know a lot of my family. It's just I kept to myself, and getting out in the public in this costume was basically my way of being in public. It's very hard to do something like that in the public eye as a shy kid. You know, I mean, I was in the band, I was in the choir, I was in drama class, but everything I did, I was always nervous and scared to get up in front of people, you know, trying to do public speaking in school. It didn't work out too well for me. I was very nervous. But getting in that costume and becoming biker Bigfoot, and then, you know, people found out I had a story, just opened me up. And that right there is the beginning of all this, of me being in the public eye, of all of my research and the other things that I've gotten involved with. So it's really changed me for the better. And being able to do what I'm doing is to further acknowledge what I am doing, since I keep saying that. I help people with PTSD. And it came to me one day because I was in Legion working with people, the veterans and the public and everything. And we would go to funerals, and that would be for the fallen military members. And in 1 year, we had 4 funerals that was for suicide. I kept thinking to myself, you know, I know there's organizations out there to help people, but it just really hit me. I had to jump in and see if there was anything that I could do to help. It was in Pittsburgh one day, getting a tattoo on my arm. There was a young gentleman sitting next to me, and he was getting some work done. We were talking a little bit. After that day, you know, I was talking to my tattoo artist. He told me the guy's story, and it really struck me. I was like, man, I wish I would have talked to him more. Here he was a soldier, and he was out in the battlefield with his platoon, and they were moving from one place to another, and an RPG came in and wiped everybody out except for him. So if anybody knows anything about this, this is called survivor syndrome, where when he woke up in the hospital and he was the only survivor from his platoon, he lost all of his brothers. I mean, you can imagine all these guys that are around you become your brothers, become your family, because you rely on each other to save each other's lives in whatever situation may come in front of you. And here he is, the survivor of these guys. And he had a digit removed on his hand in this blast and had shrapnel in his body. And he found out when he woke up that they were all gone. So it really hit him. And he was struggling with it for a long time. And 2 weeks after I met him, I found out that he had committed suicide. And it you know, not just the fact that the people are doing this stuff because they can't handle the situations that they're dealing with in life, but whenever this came to my attention, it really hit me, because I was there talking to this man. What if I would have had an opportunity to talk to him further and talk him down from doing what he did to end his life? So I didn't necessarily put myself into a situation where I was like, okay, what if? Okay, yeah, what if I could have talked to him? I'm not going to let me stop that from moving forward and trying to help the next guy. So, I had people sometimes say to me, look, you can't get down on yourself because you couldn't save that man. And I understand how that could feel, because I've been through a few situations in my life. And when I say that I relate with the people that I speak in front of, I have a form of PTSD called severe anxiety disorder. It's on the spectrum, so they call it. of PTSD. I was recently going through that reaction, not just about a couple days ago. So, I mean, it's something that we may never heal from, but it's how we move forward and keep our lives going is the important part that I could ever tell anybody. We're going to live with what our problems are every day for the rest of our lives. It's always going to be there, but it's how we get up every morning and how we deal with it and keep moving forward and keep our mind straight enough that we're going to survive. We're going to live. We're going to be happy and we're going to enjoy life. This is what I aim to get across to people with speaking about PTSD awareness.
And now we're talking about moving forward, and I can't relate with PTSD, so I can begin to understand what somebody would be going through in that state of their life. How does one move forward? What are some of the things they can do? Like, so I guess some people I'm going to use this for an example. They can find sports, they find a hobby, they find a trade, they find something they can, or art or music. They find something to take that negative energy and have some positive output.
Well, one of the strong points that you can have is a very good support system. Find somebody, friend, family, your partner in life, somebody that's going to be by your side and help you through those tough days. That is very, very important. And again, like you just said, finding a hobby that helps you through these situations that you're going through definitely can help you. Now, what I'm doing is, I feel like this is healing for myself, being able to help people. I'm able to relate with these people. And whenever I go to do my speeches, my speech may sound the same sometimes, but it's never the same. I don't write anything down for a speech. I don't do any point presentations or anything like that. I go up there and I go with the moment, and what I'm feeling at that time is what comes out. And so many times I have people come up to me after I speak and we sit and we talk. And it's just a wonderful thing to know that I've reached people in that manner. I have probably right now, 5 new friends that have actually come to me and said, Ron, the words that I have heard from you have changed my life. They have saved my life. They're not just somebody that's a fan of what I'm doing. They have become friends of mine, family, so to speak. And that's one of the things that I love about being in the Bigfoot world, is that anybody that you meet becomes your family. And it has grown. I'm not even going to try saying that word because that's a hard to say.
Exponentially.
Thank you. There
Yes.
we go. It has really grown. In the last 5 years, I have met some of the most wonderful people, whether they've gone through situations or going through situations or not. I have become friends, family with so many people. And I love telling my story to people because it gives people that hope, knowing that my life went from A to B to C to D, and it's still growing. It's still going. And like every day is a new change because of what I am going out there and I'm doing. I'm getting in front of people, I'm meeting people, becoming these family members to these people. Because we can look back and say family's not always blood.
Right.
It's the people that you keep in your circle that are your family. Those are the people that are the best people in your world sometimes. Especially the people that you can relate with, whenever you're going through something and you can get that support system built, that is very important. And I have felt such warmth and love from people. It's just amazing. The journey that I have been on, since I first put that costume on, my character, so to speak, my alter ego, just for fun, it's changed everything in my life. Like I said at the beginning, putting on that mask has basically given me the ability to open up and be in front of people and being able to speak to people where I normally may not have. And now that has happened, I can remove the mask and be me, the real me that I have always been. And I love it. I love being able to do this. You go from this guy that is, I mean, I don't mean to say nobody, but I was nothing to the public eye 5 years ago. And now I have reached across this country beyond my knowledge. I had no idea how far I reached. And it's amazing what this has done for me, let alone for the people that I'm speaking to.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because I haven't been doing events for too long. I only really at this point done a lot of Snarly Yow's events, and very cool guy. We love this guy, and
Yeah, Dave is great.
yeah, and he gotta help me break out of my own shell outside of a podcast studio. Go out there and meet people. Every once in a while, you'll see people walk by you, but you start seeing the same 2 or 3 people walk your table every time. A
Absolutely.
majority of those times, somebody has a story, and they want to tell you their story. And they will tell you about any encounter, whether it's supernatural, paranormal, or
Yeah,
Bigfoot encounters. And my question to you, on a lesser extent, because I think these types of experiences are not equal to what a veteran would go to in a field of war coming home. When reading part of the bio, because you also talk to people who've had encounters
yes,
as well. Talked to a few that not Sasquatch, but paranormal, where they feel better telling you their story, but something's still bothering them. So, is there like a certain type of PTSD after somebody has an encounter with a Bigfoot and they don't know what to do? I know they're scared, but kind of like for the rest of their lives, they've changed somehow.
absolutely. You know, that's a really good point, because I entered this hoping to help the veterans. And after one of my speeches, a person came up to me and said, "Hey, what about the families of the veterans?" I said, "You're absolutely right." And it caused a chain reaction after that. And beyond me, I don't know why I didn't think about this, that here I am being Biker Bigfoot in the Bigfoot world. Why am I not catering to PTSD with the people in the cryptid world? So it makes sense. So yes, I had a form of PTSD that is a little bit different than most. I have a strong urge to get back into the woods where most people don't want to go back into the woods. I mean, you could watch the TV shows, and anytime you hear encounters from eyewitnesses, they'll say, "Hey, I haven't been back into this area where I used to hunt for 10, 15, 20 years, but now they're going because they have the TV professionals going with them to re-encounter what they went through." So it doesn't matter where you're at in life. Okay. I'll put it that way. It doesn't matter whether you're a veteran, whether you're a first responder, fire, police, EMT, 911, um, reserves, everyday normal life, anybody in the cryptid world. It doesn't matter where you are in life. Anything can happen to you to create PTSD. So yes, you're going out there into doing paranormal investigations. Something can shake you pretty hard to the core that can make you not want to go back. I mean, how many times have you heard about or been there yourselves where you've investigated homes, hotels, just anywhere that have been abandoned because it has been lived in, there was a paranormal experience with the people that were there, and they just left. I mean, I guarantee you there's a lot. So, I mean, look at Lake Shawnee. We was just down there long ago for their first event for the Haunt Fest. It was an abandoned amusement park. Why? Because it was haunted. I mean, it's severely haunted. If anybody knows the story about that, I mean, I didn't feel anything. I'm not a sensitive. I'm working on learning this stuff because I feel that there's a lot of connection between the sensitivities that some people experience with paranormal, Bigfoot, the Mothman, the Dogman. There's a lot of connections with all of that. The UFOs, the extraterrestrials. You know, I get this question a lot too. Do you think Bigfoot is flesh and blood? Do you think it's paranormal, dimensional, alien? Guess what? They are all of that, because just like we have different nationalities, different authenticities. I didn't say that right. Or different religions, stuff like that. Ethnicities. Okay, I'll get it right one of these days. But you know, just like human beings, we have all of those different things. You know, we have different colors, we have different creeds, we have different nationalities. Bigfoots are the same way. Same thing with the aliens too. You know, everybody talk about the UFOs, and they see the blue or the grays. The Bigfoots are spiritual. The Bigfoots are interdimensional. You know, they say, okay, well, they've cloaked. We can't see them. There's this horrible. They have different abilities depending on what tribe they are or what, you know, where they come from. But I can tell you one thing out of all of that is the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Grassman, the skunk ape, the orangutan, anything that you want to call them, they have been here long before man. They have seen things that this earth has produced. They have seen societies rise. They have seen societies fall. They've been around for a long time. They know a lot of things about what happened on this earth. So we are actually the aliens to this planet. We've only been here for how long? You know, it's very interesting to start digging into this stuff. And believe me, I've been really, really, really digging ever since I got out into the public about this, because I started off as Bigfoot. I started off as veteran helping, and I broadened my horizons because of how much connection all this stuff has.
And in the spirit of your life story, in relations to your first encounter with a creature in the woods, let's go back in time to 13. And in this farm, now what type of farm was this? Was it a farm that produced for public, or mostly a private farm, like a family farm?
Well, it was a private family farm. We did go to 4-H, so we showed our animals. We produced our own meats and stuff like that from the farm. We had our own crops. We had 2 lakes that we fished in. So, I mean, we were basically self-sustained. We did sell off at times for some money and stuff like that. Like we had over 300 head of sheep. So, you know, there was a day of shearing, and all of that would be taken to the fair, and we'd get the money for that. And it's just, and then we'd do the hay, we'd do the crops. And sometimes we'd sell off a cow or whatever, you know, just to make things go. But it wasn't necessarily known that there was anything going on this property. I had been in these woods multiple times, and I you know, at that age, in that time period, you know, we did whatever we wanted. You know, we'd stayed out until lights were off, and I had my 3-wheeler, and I would just go off. We had 68 acres for me to roam, and part of it was woods, and there was a trail that would follow the fence line that goes through the woods, and there was farms adjacent to us, and sometimes I'd wander off onto their properties, you know, because I wanted to explore. I was a kid. It happens. And it's just this one particular day, I was riding the fence line, heading back to the woods, and there he was. And
just like that.
Just like that. It kind of wasn't just like that, but it was at the same time, because I hear, like, following the fence line, gumming up over the ridge, and then you go down over the hill into the entrance of the woods. So as I'm descending down over the hill to head to the entrance, I had a weird feeling that something wasn't right. And now, as a 13-year-old kid back in those days, we watched the horror flicks. So, you're kind of jumpy about, there's something in the closet, there's something under your bed. This is in your mind. You're out there wandering around the farm. What if there's something in the woods? We never knew about bear. We didn't know about bobcats, anything like that in these woods. Never seen them. We did have coyotes every so often. We had stray dogs who would go on the property looking for our animals to eat them. We had foxes, stuff like that, but nothing large. And it's just at that moment, whenever I had that weird feeling, I stopped the bike a little distance away from the entrance. And it was starting to get dark at this time. So, it was still light enough to see everything, but it was just, starting to go dark. So it was a little bit dim out. And I looked down to where I was heading, and there he was, just standing there in front of that fence line, right at that gate entrance. And now normally I would go through that gate and follow the trail. So digging into this, I had asked questions whenever I was a kid to some people, and I told them my story, and they says, well, what did you hear? Anything? I said, yeah, it growled at me. Okay, what else did you see? And I said, well, it's eyes. Here they are, like this, large red eyes. And at the moment, it really wasn't running through my mind about the size, but I do remember that it was pretty high in the air. The eyes were. So looking at the reference of it at the time, and then, later going back, I kind of put my hand in the air. I've been 6'2" ever since I was in maybe earlier than 6th grade. So I could reach up. Imagine somebody 6'2" has like a 3-foot span of reach. So, I reached up and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing was above my reach. So 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. It was bigger than 9. I was like, oh, this thing had to have been 10 foot tall. Now, at that moment, it felt like it was flesh and blood standing there. I didn't feel anything differently. Again, I'm not as sensitive, but to have that weird feeling that something's standing there, that gave me a notion of, okay, this is not right. There's something not right going on here. So, in further talking to people, and I did talk to somebody that was sensitive to paranormal at that age. They told me, they said, well, do you think maybe you saw a hellhound or something? I'm like, it could be a possibility, but it doesn't add up for size wise. A dog's eyes are fixed in the front, but they're closer together than what I saw. Look at the human head. We have this much space. This is how much space was between its eyes. This is how much space. I can't get in the screen, but it had broader shoulders than me. I'm a big guy. You've met me.
Yeah.
But Dave's bigger than me. So just imagine something larger than that. It's just amazing. We have a 10-foot skeleton that we have, one of those decoration skeletons in the back. He's 10 foot tall. I stand next to it, and my head's like right at its hip. So imagine running into this in the woods. That would create some form of fear.
Absolutely.
Fear is something that's in our minds. It's in our brains. We have, as humans, a fear factor that runs through our minds, our brains. It work that way. And whether it shakes you to the point where you can't handle it, or okay, it gives you just a little bit of fear to understand that, okay, this thing's not good, or it could possibly not be good, but you're still interested in what. I mean, I have a little bit of a side in me that I'm interested in learning this stuff, obviously, or else I wouldn't be a researcher. uh Paranormal scares me a little bit. It's what you can't see is what shakes me sometimes. um but I'm learning to not fear it, because it's only in disembodied voices, which is another thing that sensitives deal with, because they're being spoke to through the mind. um this Bigfoot didn't do that. It didn't say anything to me, but it did let me know that I wasn't supposed to enter there. But is there a reason why that Bigfoot was standing there? And that's the reason why I saw that thing at that time of my life. Was there something that it was stopping me from that was going to harm me if I went into the woods? I don't know. It's just that's why I'm so interested in learning. What was this? Why did I experience this? I've been back in the woods multiple times over the years, and trying to research and trying to learn and see what's more out there. And I've had other encounters. And matter of fact, right here in my own woods, there was an investigation back in the 90s where people had said it was a hoax, but I don't believe it was a hoax. And that was a few years later after because I was graduating and around the time that this investigation happened. And so I think there was like about a 6-year span between sighting that I had and this investigation that was on the news. And now I'm living here, which again, this is only 15 minutes from my family farm that I grew up on. And there's been multiple people that in the area have told me that they've seen the Bigfoots that live back here. There's been other encounters over the river in Brownsville. They're around. They're here. Whether we see them at times or not, that's a different story, because as you can imagine, people say that they're the hide and seek champions of the world.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason for that, because they don't want to be messed with. They want to be left alone, but they're still watching us. They are definitely watching us. They're keeping track of us, because I look at the stories that have been told about the times back in the ancient times whenever humans and the Bigfoots had a relationship. So I'm hoping that the few of us that are out there that are doing the research and the investigating, that we are able to reunite this bond. Whether it happens or not, we don't know, but we can only hope, because I think that they play a very important role in our lives.
They do, in a way, yeah, because it basically changed your life just
It
by
did.
that one encounter.
It did. It definitely did. Because what Christy and I like to say is that Bigfoot brought everybody together. If anybody has ever seen the video for our wedding, look what our wedding did to bring people together. I mean, we had fans of ours from our pasts. We had friends from our past. We combined those friends. We have family that showed up. We had TV celebrities that we have become friends and family with. There was just general public that was there for the show that wanted to come check out this Bigfoot wedding and see what it was all about. There was a lot of hubbub going on about it, because it was out there. A lot of people got interested in it. So it's just like, this is what Bigfoot did. It brought this huge community together.
It did, because before you and I actually met each other the second time, right around that time, I was seeing it on Facebook, and multiple people's pages talking about the wedding. And it's like, man, it's like somebody's talking about a soap opera wedding. I see people getting together. There's so much buzz about it, but no, it's a beautiful thing, and that's terrific, by the way. And with your explorations and meeting new people, I know that you recently, I think it was over the spring or summer, where you're part of shooting in a documentary, right?
Yes.
So if you
Yeah.
don't mind, let's talk about that because I think we have a peer in common when with Jason Kenzie.
So, a little over a year ago, I was doing an event with Daniel Benoit, and Jason was supposed to be there. And some things changed. He wasn't able to come, but I kept in contact with him. Now, if anybody knows anything about me, when I'm asked to do a job, and I'm talking about being an MC for a show, I get in contact with the speakers, and I keep in contact with the speakers throughout the process, before the show, during the show, and even after, because most of the time I end up become friends with them. So I had kept in contact with Jason throughout that time period up until the show, the event, and then even after, we just friendly message every so often. I was very interested in learning more about his work, because that's another thing I do too, is I get to know the speakers and the researchers and by going on Facebook and looking at their profiles and seeing what I don't know about them, I learn to see what they've done, what kind of work they have out there that people know about. And so I got very interested in Jason because of the work that he's done. And so I kept in contact. So we made our announcement for the wedding, and he immediately contacts me. So we're in video chat that day talking about the wedding. So we made arrangements from the Pennsylvania event in Marionville for us to meet for the first time. We went out and we started filming during that event. Then him and his crew, Sherry and Dave, came back to my house with Christy waiting for us. And we stayed here for, I think, a day or two. And then we were back on the road, or they went back on the road again. I think I had to work or something, or maybe something else. I don't know. I think I was off. But we had made this plan. We're going to go do some investigating while you're here. So we had the beginning of the month where we met to the end of the month for the wedding. So we had this whole month to do all kinds of investigating. And Jason says, I'll tell you what, I love what you're doing. Now, mind you, Jason lives in Canada. And again, this is where I'm talking about where my reach has gotten. I had no idea that people all the way across the United States and in Canada knew about what I'm doing. So Jason contacts me with this about the wedding, and we start talking about planning the whole month. And during our conversation, he says to me, he says, dude, let me tell you something. He says, I knew who you were, but I had no idea who you were until I started looking up things and I started seeing things. And then I started talking to my friends, which his friends in the United States knew who I was. And I had I don't know these people. I'm like, how far are these people away? He's like, oh yeah, they're over in Kansas City or over in Nebraska or over in California. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, gotta love social media, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way that I've gotten things out there. A lot of us have. And I've never been much about being public like that. But the fact that I'm doing what I'm doing, I have to, So, we're just having a little heart to heart about this. And he says, dude, let me tell you, he says, I really want to do some research with you to get you out there. He wanted to get me out there and show, the research that I do in the field, the research that I do with people and speaking with people and also, what I'm doing. So we collaborated this whole thing the month of June. We made it to different events. We actually put off our own event in Brownsville at the Nemacolin Castle, which is haunted. That was great. People loved that one. It was kind of like a town hall meeting just to get people's eyewitness reports and stuff. And of course we did the Haunt Fest, which was in one weekend, we had two groundbreaking events that never happened before. So that was great. But it's just that whole long journey in June with Jason, resulted in what everybody's going to find out about, which you may have already seen. but we don't have a date just yet. But the teaser photo is out there that there is a documentary. It's Searching for Sasquatch 20 with Jason, Kinsey, myself, and Linda Segman. And if everybody knows about Mothman, Linda Segman is one of the people that you go to talk to, because she had a wonderful story to tell me. It was very scary for her. She is going through PTSD to this day over the experience that she had with Mothman. So Searching for Sasquatch 20 with Jason Kinsey, and it's about Mothman. Not only that, but there's also some stories in there of the journey that I've been going through with what I'm doing with PTSD and the suicide awareness and my research. So there it is. We got that coming out after the first of the year, and get ready, because I think he's got plans for another one with me. So,
Oh, that's great. I know he does a lot of these things and around the world, but it's kind of cool that he was there with you guys. And like I said, another example of Bigfoot bringing people together. And it's a random question talking about the outfit that you wear. And I know you're an experienced bike rider. How
yes,
hard is it to have that costume on and ride a motorcycle?
like you said, I am an experienced motorcycle rider, but it changes your senses. So that's why I put the helmet on. Now in Pennsylvania, we don't have to have our helmet, but I have a beanie that works very well with the costume. And I when I said I was trying to figure out ways to make things as safe as possible for me to do this, I had goggles on to keep the mask from flapping in my face, and I had the helmet on to keep the mask on, because you can imagine there's a bunch of people that see me go live when I'm riding. My beard's flapping in the wind, and my mask, it has that ominous smile, which Christy says that scares her whenever I put the mask on.
It's creepy.
The voice from the background. Leo agrees too. But it's very interesting to see people's reactions whenever you see me pull up at a stoplight or pull into a gas station. I will purposely, even if I don't need gas, I will purposely pull up to the gas station just to get people's reactions, because I want to make that connection with people. And whenever they see my vest, then they're like, oh my gosh, like this guy isn't just crazy wearing a costume on a bike, but he has a mission. It's really cool to get people's reactions whenever I do this. It changes your perception on your riding ability. So it took me a little bit to learn how to be comfortable with it, but I do it. I just said, the heck with it. We're going to get out there and we're going to do this, because we're going to save lives. We're going to have fun. We're going to make people laugh. And I mean, ultimately, that's the thing that I love about it is that we can take something so serious and make people laugh by doing things the way I do things, because what is one of the most important things about healing? Laughter is the best medicine. And I learned that very important lesson from my late grandfather. And I learned something even more after his passing, but to know that there is something behind getting people to laugh is healing. There was a phrase that my grandfather said, and I hope I get this right. It doesn't matter what you're going through today. It doesn't matter what you're going through tomorrow, but the sun will always rise tomorrow. So just give it another day and things can change. It was a very heartfelt thing that I learned. I did not know my grandfather had this side of him. As much as of a jokester that he was, he had a very serious and loving side of him too. I mean, I knew about the loving side, but I didn't know about that serious, that he had already instilled something in me that I didn't even know that it was instilled in me. And my aunt has always been, I could say, my biggest fan, because she told me whenever I was a kid, she's like, you were meant for great things in your life. And whenever I went out on Facebook and started my page and started showing what I'm doing to help people, she calls me up and we had this heartfelt conversation. And she told me, she says, Ron, I am so proud of you. I knew this. I knew this was coming. I felt it in my heart ever since you were a kid. So, you know, I guess it's one of those things where you can look and say, I know my path. I finally found what I'm supposed to do. And it's very hard for people to do that. I know people can search their whole life to know what their purpose is in life. And I know this is it. And I have been basically groomed all of my life to be able to do what I'm doing now. I mean, not only have I been through trials and tribulations through my life, and I've had horrible steps, I've had good steps, but it's the fact that I keep going and I'm still following that path, whether I realize it or not sometimes. It's the fact that the end goal is I got to keep going forward and I got to keep doing what I'm doing, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know what they're up against and they need guidance. And just not, maybe I don't have all the answers because I am not a licensed therapist, but hey, just like a lot of us, we went through the whole school of hard knocks, right?
Yes.
And just to have the strength that I have finally grown to have to get up in front of people and tell my stories, how hard it can be sometimes to tell certain stories, but it's actually reaching people and getting them to say, you know what, I'm going to open up and I'm going to talk to somebody and I'm going to let out my fears instead of harboring them and hiding them. Because, I mean, this is something that I learned whenever I was in the Legion. You know, I had elders that had fought in these older wars that they will take what they have dealt with to their grave. They will not talk about things. And sometimes that hardens them to the point where they aren't the person that they could have been or the person they should have been. And the fact that I'm able to reach people, because this happened when I was in Legion before I started my page. I was a vice commander and I was a writer's assistant director, and then became the president of the writers group. And I was assistant director for Region 1, which put me in command over 20 different legions. And with these three positions working together, you know, I put one person in front of three different platforms to make decisions and make things happen. And we're on a ride, and well, actually, we're on multiple rides, and this happens every time we go on rides. There are benefits for certain things, and we will go from legion to legion to honor those legions and help them out. You know, it brings revenue into the building by bringing these rides to places. And each place we would go, they had a static display. Maybe there's a helicopter or a tank or a gun, and the guys would look at me. You know, I'm the leader of the group, and they would look at me. We're like, hey, it would be really great if we had something like that at our Legion, because we didn't have one. We had this beautiful memorial park, but we had no static display. And I thought, you know what, guys, you're right. I would love to see something there. We have the property. We have the room. We need to find something. So, you know, it was a running joke for a while, but, you know, one of the guys, they messaged me while I'm at work one day, and this marketplace ad comes up for a military vehicle. And I'm like, okay, send. I started a conversation with the guy, and next thing you know, we're buying the thing and putting it on the property. So what happened there? Not only did the guys say, okay, well, this is the guy that gets things done, but what it did was it changed the demographic on how people were thinking in that Legion, because these elders that don't talk about their past were talking. They were telling stories because that military vehicle was there. They started saying, hey, I remember driving one of those. I was at XYZ base, or I was in this country or that country, and I was driving that thing. And they would go out there and they would jump up in the seat and they'd just remember. whether it was a good thing or a bad thing that they remembered, it was just still, it was pulling a memory out that maybe they had tried to forget, or they didn't think that they would remember. And then they started telling her stories, and family members were standing by, and they were like, Dad, I never heard you tell that story, you know? So that made me feel good that I was able to bring that to the table and get them to be able to talk. And it even did it even further, because I would go into the Legion dressed in my Bigfoot costume and everybody be picking on me. They'd be like, oh, Ron, that thing's not real. I'm like, oh, I know, I'm in a costume. It's not real, but Bigfoot's real, you know? And it after a while, you know, of me keep doing stuff like that, I would just show up. We'd have bands, and we'd have Halloween and Valentine's dances and stuff like that. I would just show up in costume, and we just have fun. And everybody would be like, okay, let me get a picture with you, you know. And after a while, it got to the point where everybody was like, hey, I was at such and such. And they'd send me a picture of something that they saw that was Bigfoot. There it is again.
Yeah.
Bigfoot bringing people together. You know, I just stuck to it. I didn't let them bring me down. And I mean, again, I say all this stuff, and I don't want people to think that I'm bragging about my story. I tell my stories because I want people to understand that you can do things without people criticizing you, because that's your passion. And I stuck with my passion, and I got through to people. I wasn't trying to change their minds about a belief about a creature. I just wanted them to say, okay, that's what you believe in, then we believe you believe it. Instead of criticizing me and say, oh no, that thing doesn't exist, and you're crazy for thinking that. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff I was trying to get rid of, the negativity. And it worked. So I did this thing with this costume so much that, you know, I got people started talking. And going back to the elders, there was one gentleman, and I'm hoping that I get to do an interview with him soon. I reached out to him, and we had talked in the past, but I want to get his whole story. He was a photographer in the military. Could you imagine being out on a battlefield with no gun while there's a war going on around you, and you're taking pictures of everything? He's got shell shock. So, you know, you imagine like bullets, bombs going off around you, and you have no way to fight back except for your brothers beside you, that some of them might have gotten hit and lost. You know, that man's seen a lot, witnessed a lot. He was part of a lot, but he got the pictures to show what was happening on the battlefield. So he's retired. He's out there. He's still being a photographer. Now, mind you, I stuck to my guns about the whole Bigfoot thing. And he came to me one day and he says, I got to tell you a story. I was like, oh, okay, great. You know, I'd love to hear a story from an elder, you know. I was expecting something military. No. He tells me something Bigfoot, and then shows me the picture.
Get out of town.
Yep. He was out on a nature hike, and he was just taking nature photography. And Bigfoot steps right out from behind a tree and facing him. I'm looking at this picture and I'm zooming in. This is not fake. First of all, I would never discount anything that this man said. He has no reason to lie. I think he's in his 80s now. Like, there's no reason for this man to lie. This man has been through hardcore most of his life. He was on that battlefield with camera. Okay. So there is no discounting what this man says. I 100% believe him. That was not a person in a costume. That was flesh and blood Bigfoot. I could zoom in. I could see the points of fur. I could see somewhat of a face. I mean, as you're zooming in, you know, distortion and everything, but you can see a face. It is amazing. And I asked him, and I said, did you feel fear? He said, no, I felt peace. Imagine that.
Interesting. Wow.
You've got this creature that people do not recognize as a living being coming at you, fearful, but you're feeling peace.
That's the exact opposite of what I would expect someone to feel. Now, with this photo, this picture, is he going to publish it one day? Has
No.
it been published? No.
No. I am going to ask for his permission to share. Like I said, I'm reaching out to him. I've already done that, and I'm gonna continue conversations with him and get his story. Because this is something new that I've been reaching towards. And I've said this in the past. I'm going to be starting a podcast as soon as I can get everything figured out that I need to get it, to do it. And I'm going to start doing interviews with people that are very important points, like this one, because this man hits all realms of what I'm doing. You got the Bigfoot, you got the military, you got the PTSD. So this is very interesting that I want to hear his story. I want to record his story. And there's others out there that I'm going to be reaching out to, and I'm going to start getting these stories. And one of these days, I'm hoping to do some kind of another documentary. And of course, I'm going to bring Jason in with this. He's too close of a brother for me not. And it's going to be something different, because obviously I'm different. I came up with something very unique and different that I haven't seen before. And I think that's what really catches people's attention. I think that's what people have really gotten so interested in what I'm doing, is because how I'm doing it, how I'm presenting it. I even have little pamphlets that I give out for PTSD that actually breaks down how I brought all this together. And also in these pamphlets, there's also points of contact for therapists and stuff like that, places that you can reach out. That's something else that I'm reaching towards. I've been trying to do is build a platform that people can recognize before I jump full bore into what my future plans are. I want to start an outreach center, and that will give another place that people can go to that they can be heard. I mean, maybe even have places that people could stay for the night because they're not feeling safe with themselves. I'm going to say this. I was a CNA before I did anything else. Certified nursing assistant in hospitals, nursing care homes, and psychiatric wards. Now, if anybody knows anything about Alzheimer's, it can be very scary, which creates, again, there we go with the PTSD. It creates PTSD for the family because, they're growing up watching their parent change to this person that they don't even know anymore. And I witnessed this every day. And when my grandmother passed away, I couldn't do it anymore because I watched her go the way that I saw these people. So I completely understand what these families went through, watching their family digress the way they did. And being in psychiatric, I saw some things that would help you understand how the mind works. Medications, treatments, isolation. People don't want to be stigmatized to these kind of things. That's why they don't go to therapists. They don't want to be pinpointed as, yeah, they put me in a psych ward because I said this, that I have a belief in this. That's not what we want for people. I want people to know that they can come to me, or if they can go to somebody that is in this field that has an open mind and an open heart to give you the time that you need to sit down and tell your story, because it is a very hard thing for people to talk about, no matter what it is. Domestic violence is uncalled for, first of all. But domestic violence is a real thing. You know, there's a lot of people that go through it, have gone through it, survived it. There are people still going through it. You know, you got to give somebody an ear to listen to. And we don't, again, with the psychiatric ward, the 302ing, the medications, sometimes that helps, but sometimes it stigmatizes people to the belief that they don't want to be that person, so they don't say anything, so they harbor these things. And as you can see, this is all forming a ball here. Like, if you're going to take a Bigfoot researcher that has been in front of this creature, and you're going to take paranormal people and you're going to put them in front of something that has scared them, or the dog man, or the Mothman, or the Grafton monster. Just any number of one of these creatures could just put the fear in you to the point that you just shut down. So why not give somebody the opportunity to open their mouth and open their mind and open their hearts? And when I say open your mouth, is I want them to say what they're feeling. I want them to tell you their story. I don't want them to harbor that and keep that fear inside of them. They need to open up and let it out, because that is part of the healing.
And with what you're doing, serving a dual purpose for both veterans and for those in the cryptid community who may have had encounters or suffer some sort of PTSD. So I know that 2025 is closing here pretty quickly here in a few months. 2026 is right around the corner. And now that the Biker Bigfoot mission and Biker Bigfoot, their persona, is getting to be known pretty much almost worldwide, because Canada knows about you. A lot of places in the United States know about you. For those that want to reach out to you and know where not only you, Ron, yourself, and Biker Bigfoot will be at, where were you going to be for the rest of 25? What's coming up for 2026?
Well, I have a few things already scheduled for 26. There's a couple more events coming out. I know we had talked about this. There's a few things coming. I know Cryptid Halloween's coming up in October. That should be close to the end of the month, I believe it was. But to actually say some of the events that are coming on, you have to check out my page.
Right. So you're definitely very active on Facebook, right?
Yes. So the platforms that I have is obviously my personal one, Ron House. I have a lot of people reach out to me through there. There's Biker Bigfoot, which is actually a profile that you can add as a friend. I have my group page, which is Believe in Yourself, all in capital letters, Fight Against PTSD. You will see the flag that's on the back of my vest. It's the American flag that has the different colors for the different entities, and it'll top and lower rocker. Plus, I also have my TikTok, which is Biker Bigfoot, and I also have my Instagram, Biker Bigfoot 1. I am working on some other ones too, but I don't know which ones yet, so I can't put that out there. But you'll also see me with the crew of Searching for Sasquatch. That's going to be coming out after the first of the year for 2026. I do know that I have a couple of shows left for the rest of this year. I do have a couple already booked for next year. I'm kind of expecting that to pick up, because it does every year. I planned for maybe 4 or 5, and like this year, I think it turned into 20. And it happens every year. But I know once the documentary gets out there that it's probably going to be even bigger. So I got to prepare myself.
True story. Yeah, because I'll be seeing you at Cryptid Halloween for sure. And
yes,
I know we have a lot of events coming up in 2026. And for those of you out there that want to have a conversation with Ron and Biker Bigfoot, please reach out to him on his social media. He'll be more than happy to talk to you, and stop by his table, man, because he's always very approachable, very nice, and we've always had great conversation, and I really appreciate you being on the show. And
if you follow my pages, you'll see what I got going on, because I'm always making sure people are aware of where I'm going to be, except for Mothman. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
Because I went down there to promote the Mothman documentary. I just wanted to surprise everybody. But most of the time, every time, I have it all posted, making sure everybody knows where I'm at. Please, yes, stop by my booth, talk to me. If you don't have the time to talk to me at that time, make arrangements with me, or even just reach out to me through my pages, please. I do have something else that I have to put out there, that there's going to be a new Bigfoot in town.
Oh my.
Yes. I'm very excited. So if anybody knows, I know you know about the wedding and everything, Christy Chafin and I came together, Cryptid Chaos Designs. And one of the biggest things that she was very excited about was the fact that I am a Bigfoot actor. And she wanted to get in on the fun. So there's a new Bigfoot coming out, and we're going to be doing some videos and stuff like that to announce her. But if you come to Cryptid Halloween, you will get to meet her firsthand. Should I tell them the name? Yeah? Okay. So we live in Daisytown, Pennsylvania. So her Bigfoot name is Daisy.
Awesome. But I want to be one of the first ones to take a picture with Daisy and Biker Bigfoot. I had a picture with you the last time. It came out really nice, man. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Looking forward to having you back on the show.
To be doing what I'm doing. I am very honored to be able to reach people the way I do. I absolutely love it. It's changed my aspect of life.
And you're making a difference out there, brother. And thank you for being on the show. Ron Howes, also known as Biker Bigfoot, on Let's Find Out with Diego. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Copyright Diego the Podcaster. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out with Diego is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.